Blog Talk Radio.
All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Women of Golf Show. I'm Ted Odorico, the host of the program. Normally alongside each and every week, of course, is my good friend and co-host, LPGA professional Cindy Miller and Legends Tour player. But Cindy's off this week. She's, I believe, doing a corporate event this week. Last week, I believe she was off for the one of the Legends Tour events. So, but she'll be joining me back here on the show next week. And look forward to welcoming her back to our regular weekly show. But I want to thank all of you for joining in this morning. We've got a very good show. I've got two great guests. First up is going to be Maia Schechter. She's the winner of this past weekend's annual Four Wins Invitational. And we're going to talk a little bit about her win and just some other things as well that we've got planned. And then a little bit later on in the show, another great young lady from the Symetra Tour is going to be joining me, Jillian Hollis. And we'll talk to her about her debut event coming up this weekend at the Forsyth Classic. But thanks, everybody, for joining me in this morning. And let me just tell you a little bit about the show and where you can tune in for those of you that are joining for the first time. Some great options. Obviously, every week we're here on the blogtalkradio.com network. Just go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, or just type Women of Golf up in the search key, and that will take you to the main page. And, of course, we're front and center every Tuesday morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Other great ways that you can tune into the program, you can go to iTunes.com, Stitcher.com, or now TuneIn.com, and again, just type in Women of Golf, and that will take you there as well. Always update on social media. On my personal page, Ted Odorico, and it's Odorico is the correct spelling of my last name. You can follow the show there on my personal page and connect with me there as well if maybe you got questions or comments about the shows. You can also on some of the other pages on Facebook. Also on my Twitter handle, Ted and Buck CEO. CEO is in capital letters. You can follow me there and also get updates through Twitter and or on my personal page on LinkedIn.com as well. So lots of great ways to connect with the show and lots of great ways to keep updated and informed about who's coming on the show. But thank you again this morning for joining us here live on the blogtalkradio.com network. Okay, so as I said, we've got two great guests this morning. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my first one, and then I will bring her out as she's very patiently waiting. My first guest, of course, is Maia Schechter. She is a Symetra Tour player and winner of her first event, the 7th Annual Four Wins Invitational this past weekend. And very, very impressive win. She fired a 6-under par 66 in the final round to erase a 5-stroke deficit and, of course, become a Symetra Tour champion. She's a University of North Carolina alumna. And Maia now will compete this week as well in the Forsyth Classic at Hickory Point Golf Course, June 15th to 17th. So without further ado, let me welcome my very special guest, first guest this morning, Maia Schechter. Good morning, Maia.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
Well, thank you for joining me, and congratulations on the win.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely feels pretty good. Just good building blocks for the season, so I'm excited.
Well, exactly, and as you should be. And we're going to talk a little bit about your deficit here in just a second, but tell us a little bit about the win. This is, as I mentioned just a moment ago, this is your first win, of course, on the Symetra Tour. So the first one is always, if you talk to any of the other professionals out there, always say the first win is the hardest win. Because you're just, you're sort of testing the waters, if you will. A lot of times, you're obviously, you're an accomplished player, but until you get that first win under your belt, sometimes it can be a little bit daunting out on tour. So this is a great way to come out in the season and win an event like that. So tell us a little bit about how you feel now that you've crossed that hurdle. Obviously, it's a very sweet victory. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah. So I guess going into the week, felt pretty good, and obviously it feels great to have a win. And I think I went, as you said, went into the round with 5 strokes back of the lead. So I kind of, going into the round, felt like I had to play pretty well. At the same time, you just kind of stick to your process and do what you can, control what you can control, and just go play your game and see where you end up. I think kind of it was my first win, but at the same time, I kind of played chasing the leaders the whole day, and even when I was technically at the top of the leaderboard, I thought the leaders were a couple groups behind me, or there were a couple groups behind me with really good players, so I felt like I still had to keep sticking to my process and not get comfortable. So I feel like that was kind of helpful, having the first win, stay aggressive in my game plan, and wasn't really being chased per se. So I don't know if that was something to do with it, just having that mindset of go play my own game, and then obviously had to play the win, waiting for the last couple of groups to come in to see if my name would stay on top. But it was it was definitely a fun day. It's still a little bit surreal, but, you just got to accept it. And obviously there's another week here in Decatur, Illinois, so life kind of goes on. You got to stay in the process and get ready for the next one.
Right. Well said. And again, congratulations, Maia. Now, what's interesting is, you just explained that you're obviously aware of your surroundings. You know that there's other groups coming up, but you focused on your own game. Was there ever a point, knowing that you had a 5-shot deficit, was there a point throughout the process that you thought, I'm not sure, this is a pretty big deficit? 1 or 2 strokes you can kind of wrap your mind, but 5 strokes is quite a bit. Was there any point throughout that last round that you thought, I'm not sure if I can do this?
No, and I actually think I never really thought about it, to be honest. It's kind of like I didn't know that I was 5 back starting the final round, actually, but I felt like I was playing really well, and I'd been making a lot of birdies all week, so I kind of felt like if I just went and played like I was playing, then just see how things ended up. So I didn't really have like a score in mind or anything like that. It was just kind of go play golf, and that course set up really well for me. Obviously, I really liked the course, and just tee shots really fit, and I felt like conditions were really ideal for scoring, and you could kind of go for some pins, and the par 5s were kind of reachable. So I think just going into the day, I didn't approach it like a final round and I was trying to win. It was kind of like I had my game plan for the week and it had been working all week. So just go out and execute that game plan again.
Right, exactly. Now, are you a leaderboard watcher? Some players like to kind of know who's where and what, or are you somebody that stays very focused in your own game and sort of lets things happen as they unfold? Or how do you sort of go around the round? Do you pay attention to where the leaders are, or do you just stay so focused on your own game that's not important while you're out there playing?
I think it's a little mix of both. I think it's really not look at the leaderboard. I mean, they're like huge billboards out there, so like I physically right. I don't know how I wouldn't be able to see it. I don't know how people do that, but I look at it and then just kind of not internalizing what you see so much. So you see the names and the scores, but it didn't ever affect my decision making. So it didn't force me to go for more pins or right. I didn't score. So I think yes, I saw the names and saw the scores, but at the same time I had my game plan and I just kind of stuck to that. So it was kind of a mix of both.
Yeah, and you're exactly right. I think it's very difficult to go around, especially when you've got, as you said, a billboard, around just about every corner. It's almost impossible not to see what's going on. But I like the fact, what impresses me is the fact that you didn't let what the numbers were showing on the board dictate how you were going to play. Like, in other words, when you became aware that you were 5 shots back, you didn't suddenly go, yikes, I suddenly got to step up my game if I want to have a chance at this tournament. You stayed focused, you went in with a game plan, and you worked through that game plan throughout the final round. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, no, definitely. I would say the only time that I maybe kind of adjusted a little bit was when, as I'm sure you know, we had like a hour, 45-minute delay there in the middle of the round. Towards the end of the round, we were on 15T, and it was pouring rain, so the course was unplayable. So we had to go into the clubhouse for a little bit, and then I knew where I stood at that point, and I had 4 more holes. And I had read somewhere that, the leader, the person that wins is oftentimes the person that can, finish the last 3 holes even par. So it's, coming down the stretch, it's really easy, especially with the last 4 holes at Blackthorn. There's a par 5 that's pretty reachable and definitely scoreable holes. But I think going into those holes after the delay, I wasn't settling for par, but it was definitely like hitting to center side of pins and taking lines that I knew that I could execute and picking targets that I was really confident in, which I guess was my game plan the whole time. But I was, I guess, a little bit more conscious of that. And then the last hole definitely just hit to the middle of the green. So that was probably the only time I adjusted the game plan a little bit.
Right, and you're exactly right. You've got to be able to adjust sometimes on the fly to conditions, whether it be because of a rain delay or just different circumstances on the golf course. But ultimately, you stay focused on your game plan. Let me ask you a question, and I think for a lot of the amateurs out there that are tuning into the show this morning might wonder this. As amateurs, they go out and they play a round of golf, and when they start coming around the turn, if you will, a little fatigue sometimes can set in. They get tired. It's, they maybe if they're walking, they're walking a little while, pulling or carrying their golf bag. But you play several rounds. What do you do to keep that stamina going through 3 rounds of golf? Because obviously you do get a little bit of rest at the end of the day and prepare for the next round. But that's 3 rounds in a row. That's a lot of golf. What do you do to keep yourself in shape, and what do you do to keep yourself that stamina going for the tournament?
Yeah, I think there's a few things. One is working out. I mean, that's more on the preparation side of things. So definitely in the off season, getting in good shape and then maintaining that throughout the season, and just being able to physically endure 3 rounds, because we do have to walk, and some courses are easier to walk than others. Luckily, this past week really wasn't a difficult walking course. So, but I think that's kind of more on the preparation side is working out and getting in good physical shape. And then on the golf course, for me, one of the big things is snacking. So I kind of graze throughout the round. So I have, my bag is full of snacks. So I'm always eating and making sure I'm drinking lots of water, because I know kind of early in my career I would kind of fizzle out at the end, the last couple holes, and I found out that I really just wasn't drinking enough water. So, but at the point that you're thirsty, you're already too dehydrated. So I think drinking a lot of water is key, especially when it is hot, and it's hard to make yourself drink water when it's pouring down rain, but you still have to make sure you get your fuel. So I think that's a huge part of it. And then I think what a lot of amateurs don't realize is how much energy it takes to, when you express like big emotions, like when you get really frustrated or angry or really happy, that takes a lot of energy out of you. So I think something that I try to do is stay really kind of even keel throughout all the rounds, so you're not having the big highs and the big lows, because that can just drain you. So I think that's a big part of it for me is kind of expending as little energy on emotions as I can, and kind of great shot or not great shot. You just kind of have to pick up your bag and go to the next one and keep hitting it. So I think that's a big part of it, because it is a lot of golf, and you can't get too stuck on one shot. So I think that's one of my keys for being able to play 3 rounds or 4 rounds in a row.
Right. Yeah, and you've got to, it's not just, people don't understand, I think. They look at golf, and because it's not, quote-unquote, a contact sport, they don't understand that there is still a lot of physical involvement in the game. I mean, you're swinging that golf club, 100-plus miles an hour, and, in the case of tour players, they're walking. They're not taking a golf cart in majority of cases around. So there's a lot of walking involved, and you're walking several miles around. Maia, what gave you the most confidence this week? What part of your game gave you the most confidence when you come in this week?
So we had a week off before last week, which was really helpful for me to kind of regroup, because I had missed 5 of the last 6 cuts. So I was ready to have a week to see my coaches and work on things. So one of the big things, obviously, is short game and working on getting that technique a little cleaned up, and getting better contact on chips and being able to control the golf ball a little bit better around the greens. So that was big, because that kind of frees you up from the fairway when you have an approach shot and you feel like you're able to get up and down even if you do miss the green. Then you kind of feel a little more relaxed standing in the fairway. So I think that was big. And then early in the week, I was just working on swing and getting good contact and checking my fundamentals, and found my grip was getting a little weak and my stance was getting a little close. So I was hitting these kind of blocks. So I worked on those 2 things, and that really helped with the ball striking, and felt like when I picked my target that's where it was going to go. So that was a big key for me.
Now, I know from reading some of your stats that you're a tall player. You're, I believe, 6'2". Is that correct?
That is actually not correct. I'm 6 feet. I don't know why it says 6'2". I've actually tried to get it changed. But I mean, still, 6. Yeah, I'm not a short person. That's for sure.
No. Okay. Well, yeah, they need to change that, because I'm 6'4", and I was thinking, wow, this is a tall young lady. So even 6 feet is still fairly tall for most women. Most women kind of hover, anywhere from 5'7" to about 5'10". In that range is sort of the average. But being a tall player can have both advantages and disadvantages. And advantages can be, obviously, you can create a wider arc, and also in many cases even generate more club head speed just through centrifugal force. Have you ever had issues as a taller player, because obviously you have a little bit longer legs, where early on in your career where you maybe swayed a little bit more? Because it seems the shorter players seem to be able to balance better over the ball than taller players. I know that was an issue for me early on. Was it ever an issue for you? Did you ever find being a tall player that was something that you really had to work on, was to not sway so much in your swing?
Yeah, I think early on that was one of the things for sure. And I think as a tall player too, you just have a longer torso, and for me that's can lead to, if I'm not careful, some lower back pain, because it's just a lot more kind of body that you have to control. So I definitely have to work a lot on activation. So before rounds I do a lot of preparation and stretching and activation to make sure that my body's ready to swing a golf club, because it is such an explosive movement. You have to be, ready for that movement, or you can cause injury. So I think that's a big thing for me, is you do have longer levers, and being able to control those levers kind of takes a little bit more strength, I think. But yeah, if you can time it all and get it all right, you definitely have a little bit of an advantage with the longer limbs. But swing, I think, is one of the I guess swing faults that is common for tall people, I would say. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of players, taller players. I think it's changing now with some of the modern swing theories and that. But tall players traditionally used to have more of an upright swing, where shorter players, it was a little flatter plane, if you will. Let me ask you as well, is there a part of your game that you most struggle with or have over the course of your career thus far, that you have to work the most at, the hardest at, in order to keep it in check?
The combination of things. So I'm all trying to just hit more greens, because I think the more greens you hit, the less stress you put on your game in general, and it's a lot easier to tee putt, I think, than to get up and down, obviously depending on the putt and the tip. But that's kind of a big thing for me, is the more greens I hit, the better I play. And then added to that, I mean, if you get up and down 60% of the time and you miss 10 greens, you're going to make 4 bogeys, where if you miss, 5 greens, then you only make 2 bogeys. So it's kind of that those two are very connected, I think, in that if you make your bogeys and have more opportunities for birdies. So hitting more greens, but then also being able to save green. So it's kind of, those two are the big ones for me, because I do hit the driver pretty well, and I'm in play a lot of the, most of the time. So I think, hitting greens, hitting a few shots a little closer so I can get some more birdies and easy pars, and then making sure I save par when I do miss a green is obviously big. So sorry, no easy answer there.
No.
Kind of a little bit of everything.
No, that's good. It's a mixed bag, as they say. Well, you're allowed to have 14 clubs in the bag, so you got to be able to use them all. So, Maia, let me ask you, again, being a tall player, is your tempo and timing kind of slow, like a Freddie Couples, let's say, as an example, or are you a pretty quick player? Is your tempo and timing pretty quick compared to maybe somebody else?
I would say I'm more. Ernie Els was kind of is one of my favorite golfers, and I would relate to him more in that kind of easier tempo. Yeah. And also, I'm not a very fast moving person in general, so definitely slower tempo. But people, I think, has a misconception, because I'm definitely swinging hard, but it just doesn't look like it.
Yes.
So. Yeah.
Well, and that's
side.
Exactly the same. Right, that's exactly the same with both Freddie Couples and Ernie Els. It's very misleading, because when you look at them, it's kind of the silky smooth, backswing, and they used to kid Freddie Couples on the course that looked like he was just going for a walk in the park, because he just never seemed to be in a rush. But boy, he could generate a lot of club head speed and get some great distance. So, and same with Ernie Els. So it's very misleading. I just got a final question for you. Actually, 2 questions. First one, obviously, you're sort of coming off a high now with this win last weekend. So I know you're pumped, and the adrenaline's probably going a little bit for this week here. What are you going to do to keep yourself in check that you don't get too? Because one of the mistakes sometimes coming off of a win like that, your adrenaline kind of gets going, and you actually hit the ball a little further than what you think you're going to hit. Do you do anything to sort of calm things down, or you just sort of ride the wave?
You just kind of ride the wave. I think I experienced that a lot in the final round. I was hit everything kind of like a half club more, so and I feel like I adjusted for it pretty well. So I think that'll just take some feeling out in the first round to see how the ball's flying. But yeah, no, adrenaline definitely has an effect on how far the ball goes. I don't know. I think going into the first round here, it's kind of a new week, so I don't think it'll be flowing too much. But there's always that. Yeah, you need to adjust for that when you feel it.
Yeah, I agree. And finally, Maia, let me just ask you, maybe you can give a quick tip to some of our listeners out there. Obviously, this is predominantly geared for the women's market, and we want to encourage and get more women in. But one of the pitfalls, I guess, that a lot of women face, especially that are new to the game, is they carry a lot of anxiety. A lot of women that maybe have never played golf before, it's new to them. Can you give them a tip that can help them handle that anxiety, especially if they're new to the game? They're a little bit nervous, they don't know what to do sometimes. They haven't played very long, that sort of thing. Is there anything that you could say to the general audience that say, this is what I do if I'm getting a little bit anxious about playing?
Yeah. Oh, well, I have so many tips. The toolbox is excellent in that regard. That's kind of my my specialty. Let's see. I guess to start is I do a lot of meditation, so that's really helpful for me in focusing on breathing, and it's something you can control. And I think a lot of anxiety comes from kind of social anticipation of how people are going to perceive you, and I think that it's not the end of the world if you whiff a shot or shank it. I mean, it's golf, so the world keeps, regardless of what you do. I think that's huge, and having that perspective, and also being grateful that you can be out there playing golf, and you get to be outside playing a sport that either you love or you're starting to love, or you. So I think that's a big part of it. And then something that was really helpful for me this past week, I read in an article that your body perceives nervousness and excitement in the same way. So you kind of release the same hormones and have the same physiological effect. So you kind of start breathing a little faster, and your heart races a little faster, and but it's the same kind of body response to those two emotions. So when you're feeling nervous,
right,
you can reframe it as excitement, and your body feels the same way, but your mind kind of adjusts to that mindset. So I think, that was huge for me this past week, because there were definitely some shots where I was really nervous, but then you just kind of tell yourself that, well, I'm really excited to hit this shot, because it's an opportunity to be outside and to hit a great golf shot, and you just see what happens. So I think that's big for me, is just framing of the situation, because it's just golf. It's just how you frame that situation is really up to you, and it's a controllable, and you don't want to give that control away to anyone else. So, sorry, long answer. There's just so many tools in the toolbox for that one.
Well, you pulled a great one out of the toolbox, Maia. That was excellent, and that was exactly what I was looking for. Well, let me just say this again. Congratulations on your win this past weekend, and I hope that you will use the momentum from that play and what you learned playing the last few rounds in this past tournament to be able to help you put a good game plan together for this week. So good luck this week in Decatur at the Forsyth Classic. And again, congratulations on your win. And thank you very much for spending time with me this morning on the Women of Golf.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
All right. You have a great one.
Thanks.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was my very special guest, Maia Schechter, winner of the Four Winds Invitational this past weekend. And, of course, she's winding up and gearing up, if you will, to play in this week's Forsyth Classic in Decatur, Illinois. So I'm sure she's very eager to get out there and get warmed up and practice up and take some of the lessons that she learned this past week through her win out there on a new golf course, and we wish her well. As I mentioned, I've got another great guest coming up here, and I'm just waiting for her to come on board. I'll tell you a little bit about her so that when she comes on, we'll just get right into the discussion. Jillian Hollis, of course, is a Symetra Tour player as well. She made her professional debut at the U.S. Women's Open, and not only made the cut, but finished a solo 62nd. She'll make her Symetra Tour professional debut this week in Decatur alongside Maia at the Forsyth Classic. All this comes after a stellar career at the University of Georgia, where she was a 3-time All-American. Jillian notched seven top 10 finishes in 9 tournaments during the 2017-18 season, including victories at the 3M Augusta Invitational and the Ping ASU Invitational. She also shattered the Georgia stroke average record and finished the season at 71.04. And in 26 rounds, she posted 18 par or better tallies with 8 scores in the 60s. So definitely a very accomplished player, and very excited to be able to have her on the show this morning. So while I wait for her to come on board, let me just remind everybody, of course, we are live every Tuesday morning here on the blogtalkradio.com network. Again, best way to find us is go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf, or just simply type Women of Golf up in the search key, and that will take you to the main page. And for some reason, if you're not able to join us live on the Tuesday morning broadcast from 9 to 10, not to worry, just visit that link, and if you scroll down to the on-demand section, you can listen to all of the shows in their entirety. Of course, they are all auto-recorded, so you can just tune in when it's convenient for you. But we hope that you can join us live, and we're glad and grateful for those that are able to join us live every Tuesday morning. As I mentioned, Cindy Miller was off this week. She was off last week as well, and I believe, if I remember from our discussion beforehand, I believe she was playing in a Symetra Tour, a Legends Tour event last week. And I believe this week she's off doing a corporate event, but she'll be returning next week on the show as well. And we'll have some more interesting guests and things like that. Some other great ways that you can tune into the program: if you go to iTunes.com, Stitcher.com, or TuneIn.com, and again, just simply type in Women of Golf. That will take you there as well, and you can listen on any of those social media platforms if you choose. Whatever way you want to tune in, we're just glad that you are. And always, interesting talking with some of these young ladies. Maia, of course, just winning her first tournament on the Symetra Tour this past weekend at the Four Winds Invitational. And, one of the interesting things about talking with some of these young ladies that I find is the level of focus. And this is something that, I think a lot of our amateur players need to really pay attention to. They're not so focused that they're oblivious to what's going on around them, but they're focused enough at what the task at hand is. And if you listen to the conversation, and if you missed it, listen to the program a little bit later on, go back and listen to the recorded version, and you'll pick up on some of that. But one of the interesting things that Maia had mentioned in her segment was that even though she's aware and conscious of what's happening around, she certainly does watch the leaderboard and is fairly conscious of what other players are doing, she still stays focused on her game plan. So very, very important tip for you amateur golfers out there from some of the pros that we have on. As I mentioned, we've got a great guest coming on now, Jillian Hollis. I've told you a little bit about her, so let me just bring her on and welcome her to the show. Good morning, Jillian, and welcome to Women of Golf.
Morning, Ted. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Wow, that was an energy-filled good morning. Thank you very much for joining me.
Yeah, glad to be here.
You're obviously pumped up and ready to go. So thank you for coming on this morning. I know that you're getting ready to play in the Forsyth Classic up in Decatur. So I know you've got to get busy preparing for that, and I know you have been preparing for that. But I want to go back just a little bit and talk about the U.S. Open. You obviously made the cut, and you did finish, I believe, 62nd, if I'm not mistaken, solo 62nd. So that's certainly a great accomplishment. But I want to ask you, Jillian, I can imagine that's obviously a very exciting moment. I mean, the U.S. Open, to be able to play with some very, very accomplished players. What experience do you think, or what did you gain playing in a tough event like a U.S. Open? What knowledge did you take from that?
Oh, definitely. It was so exciting, and it was actually my first tournament as a professional. I just finished up at the University of Georgia, so it's pretty exciting.
Right.
Having that as my first pro tournament, and making a cut was even better. I definitely gained the knowledge of playing under a lot of stress and playing under, we played a lot of golf during that tournament. They got rained out the one day, so I played 31 holes in one day, and then went to bed, woke back up, and played the next day, played 18 holes. So it was learning how to play when I was really tired, and just kind of battling through that. But it was cool seeing how everybody practices, and everyone just does different things. No one has their same routine, and I think the most important thing is, and what I've heard from a lot of the pros is, don't copy somebody else and what they're doing, because what they're doing might not always work for you. Everybody's different, and obviously you want to practice all your fundamentals and everything, but I think sticking to your game plan is the most important.
I agree, and I couldn't have said it better myself. That's exactly the way you have to deal with things. We are all uniquely individual and different from one another. And you're right. I mean, you can certainly take some cues and some tips from another player. I mean, you can look at certain things and say, I'm going to give that a try, and if it works for me, great. If it doesn't, I'm not going to sweat it. But I think one of the big mistakes that a lot of amateurs make by watching the pros is they say, well, I see that player and I want to copy my swing, or I want to copy everything like they do. And when they come to somebody like me that teaches golf, they say, well, make me play like a Freddie Couples or somebody like that. And it's, well, you don't have his body style, you don't have his tempo and timing, so it's very difficult. And I think that they try to emulate too much. But you well said what you just spoke. Jillian, I want to ask you something that I talked a little bit about, and you actually gave me a great lead-in for this by talking about having to play 31 holes in one day because of a delay. What do you do that helps you with your stamina? Because you're obviously playing several rounds in a tournament. It's not like your weekend warriors that go out and maybe play a round of golf every now and then. So you got to go out there and you got to be tournament ready. What do you do to make yourself physically tournament ready so that you can keep that momentum going for 3 or sometimes even 4 rounds?
Right. So I think a big thing for me is learning when to take breaks, because I will golf every day if I get the opportunity to. And my coach and my mom played on the tour, and so they always tell me that it's really important to take breaks for your body, and just to know when enough is enough. Like before this tournament, I'd played 7 weeks in a row in 8 different states, so I was playing a lot of golf, and
Wow.
I didn't realize how tired my body actually was, and how not only physically but mentally you get really drained. So just knowing, and this is my first time playing on the Symetra tour. This is going to be my first Symetra event coming up, so I know they do the 3 and 4 week stretches, and just knowing how many weeks is really good for me. I unfortunately had to withdraw from this last tournament just because it was so much and my body couldn't take it, and I think it was the best for me. And I took this whole week and just kind of relaxed and worked on my short game, and got to go home back to Cleveland, Ohio for a little bit, and just recharging the batteries. And I know it's hard to take time off, but I think that's really important for me.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think one of the things, especially for a lot of the new players out on tour, it can be very easy to get burned out because they want to play in as many events as they can, but they're not really used to a tournament schedule yet, per se, to the level that they're experiencing now. And you're exactly right. It can be very easy to overexhaust yourself, and then you come into an event like this week, and you're exhausted, you're tired, and you just don't have the energy, and you're not playing your best because of that.
Right.
Obviously, I mentioned before you came on, and you pointed to as well that you played at the University of Georgia. You were actually a 3-time All-American, so congratulations on that. That's obviously you played very well. And you notched 7 top 10 finishes in 9 tournaments during the 17-18 season, and included some victories at 3M Augusta Invitational and the Ping ASU Invitational. Tell us a little bit about that. What did you learn while you were playing at the University of Georgia that has really given you some good root system, if you will, for playing now professionally?
Oh, I mean, I learned so much. I think the biggest thing I learned, and people always ask me, and I was like, oh, what's the biggest takeaway you've gotten from college golf? And I think the biggest takeaway is learning how to deal with adversity and to deal with your other life, like school and friends and coaches and teammates and other personalities while playing golf. So you have to play good golf through all of that and through the good and the bad. And I think that's what you're going to see a lot when you go on the Symetra tour. I've heard of, people who make it and people who don't. And the people who do make it, I believe, are the people that can handle the adversity and handle something happening on the road, like being able to go play golf regardless of your circumstances. Like not everything has to line up perfectly for you to have a good tournament or have a good round. Like bad things are going to happen sometimes. Like that's just life. And I think people who can handle those the best are going to be successful.
Right. You're exactly right. How you handle adversity. So obviously, Jillian, there's going to be moments throughout your career where pressure situations mount and anxiety sometimes can set in. What do you do? Do you have some tools in your toolbox, if you will, that you pull out to help you deal with anxious moments?
Yeah, I mean, every circumstance is different, and like when I won at Augusta, it was a lot different than when I won in Arizona because I played really good golf the first 2 days, and then I had a big lead, and the last day I just I shot 3 under the last day, but I was pretty nervous to start with, and I ended up shooting 4 under on the back. So I got a hold of my emotions and learned from that, and finished strong on the back 9. And I took that to my next tournament, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna I think I can win 2 in a row. Like, why not? Why not try to do it? And I kind of tried to keep that attitude, even though I didn't play super well the first 2 rounds. Like, I played okay. I played well the first round, played okay the second round, and then it was my birthday on the Sunday of the final round at ASU, and I was like, let's just make something really cool happen today. Let's be patient, but it's my birthday. Like, I'm not home celebrating with my friends, so why not just see what I can do? So I think I had a bogey, and then I had a birdie on the front 9. I birdied 9. And then on the back 9, I had 3 more birdies in a row. And I was like, when I was making those birdies, I always thought to myself, like, oh, I'm making another birdie. And then I'd quick snap myself out of it and I'm like, stop thinking that way. Let's just make more birdies. So I just tried to close on every opportunity that I could. And I ended up shooting 7 under the final day and winning the tournament. So that was pretty cool on my birthday.
Yeah. What a great birthday present. Yeah, you had to be pretty stoked about that. A double celebration. Not only do you have a birthday, but you get to celebrate the win as well. So that's fantastic. What about now? Obviously, everybody has strong areas in their game. Some are really good drivers. Others have a pretty good short game. But very few players are good at everything. There's a weak area and there's a strong area in your game. What are the weak and strong areas of your game, and what do you have to work most on each week to play your best?
I mean, I am a firm believer of no one wins a golf tournament without their putter. Like, if you're putting well, you have the opportunity to win every tournament just because you make putts and you make birdies. So I think that's one of the strongest points in my game. I switched putters this season, and I putted so well. So I think that's a really strong part of my game right now. I struggled a bit with my chipping in the beginning of the year, so I really worked on that, and I think my chipping is really good now. And I think people go up and down in their games. I think I'm very strong in all of the areas of my game right now, but everything can always use improvement.
Right. Yeah, you're never exactly right. You're never going to master everything. I mean, you talk to some of the best players in the world, male or female, and they'll all tell you the same thing, is you can be very accomplished at many parts of your game, but you will never master any of them because it depends on how you feel. It depends on what's happening, the circumstances. You can come out there and your putter can let you down, or it can be, your saving grace that weekend. So things can change a lot. You're exactly right. Now, you obviously have a personality that's very excitable. You're very upbeat. But obviously, again, we have. Yeah, no, I mean, the moment you came on air, I knew right away. I could say this young lady is very upbeat and very excitable and a very happy-go-lucky individual, and that serves you well, I guarantee, playing out there week in, week out, even in some of your more difficult moments. But when you step away from the golf course and you're doing other things, what do you enjoy doing? What gives you the most amount of excitement or enjoyment away from the golf course?
Oh, I love spending time with my family. I mean, they're my support system, and like I said, I just went home and recharged the batteries, and I love being around them because I've been around them my whole life, and I love them so much, and they always want the best for me. So I think spending quality time with them is so refreshing for me, just because I've been at school so much. So when I do get the chance to see them or see friends, it's nice to go do that and relax and stuff.
Right. Do a lot of your friends play golf? Like a lot of your girlfriends that you grew up with, do they play golf, or they kind of do other things that they prefer to do?
Yeah, so I have a lot of really good friends and I think a lot of golfers will say this, but I have a lot of really good friends that live in other states that play golf, that I've just met through golf. And some of my best friends play golf, like the University of Alabama and North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Like, I have a lot of really good friends from all over. So I definitely say my good friends play golf. But even, being at UGA, I have friends that do other sports. And I think I get along really well with people who play sports just because they understand the grind and they understand, sacrificing things and sacrificing things for your sport, like time and, seeing your friends. I don't get to see them that often, but definitely being around those kinds of individuals really inspires me and they push me to be better. So I think I like people who push me to be better. I love being around those kind of people.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's always good to have a circle of friends and family who are supportive and are sort of your mini cheerleader, because you can kind of play that in your mental Rolodex when you're out there and having a difficult time. You can play those memories, if you will, of them sort of cheering you on, and that's a great way to keep the momentum going and keeping the spirits up through difficult challenges. So you're coming into this week. You've had a great career at the University of Georgia, and this is going to be your debut Symetra Tour event. What did you do mentally and what did you do physically to prepare for this event, or did you do anything? I know you took some time off, but worked a little bit on your short game. Was there anything specific that you said, okay, I need to do this to make sure I have a good solid finish and hopefully win the tournament?
I needed to work on my wedges. I found that huge through a couple of my tournaments this year and like this spring. There was a couple, like I won the tournament in Augusta, and then I won the tournament in Arizona, and then we played at my home course at University of Georgia, and I shot 6 under and I think 6 under and 7 under 1. So I came in second for that, and I think I could have won that one had my wedges have been a little bit better. And that's what, my mom comes to all my tournaments, and she knows my game more than anybody. So she's like, if you can just dial in your wedges, it's going to be great. So I worked really hard on that, just going on the golf course with her and doing distances, because I think you can get pretty bored if you I definitely think you need to fundamentally work on your wedges on the range, but I think you can get pretty bored just hitting golf balls on the range. So I really like to go out in the golf course and hit different kinds of shots and, try and hit a pitching wedge 80 yards and just doing different things like that just to get touch and feel.
Yeah, you're exactly right about that, Jillian. One of the things that a lot of golf instructors and coaches are doing now is more playing lessons than on the practice tee, because that that's one of the worst things that I see in my teaching with a lot of amateurs is they get up on the range and they just sort of rake golf balls and hit one after another, and there's no real practice with purpose. And then when they get out in the golf course, they wonder why they can't take their range game with them out to the golf course. It's because they haven't really put it into practice. So you're exactly right. You've got to get out there in real course situations, and you've got to be able to deal with it, because you're not always going to get a perfect lie, or the ball's not always going to be teed up, certainly not in the middle of the fairway. So, you might be in somebody's divot, and you've got to know how to be able to hit that shot well and understand what's going to happen when the ball comes out. I want to close off because we're running out of time, but I know you've got to get going. You want to get ready for this week's tournament. But I would like for you to offer a tip, and rather than sort of just doing it general to the general audience, I want to specifically target a group of them. I know once you were a tween, and I say that TWEEN, not teen, tween, that, can be very excited. They love that. What would you say to them about golf to get them interested in game? Because the younger we get them started, the better it is going to be for the industry. So if you had their voice or were able to be a voice for them right now, what would you say to some of the tweens out there and say, hey, guys, you need to come out and play golf, and here's why?
Oh, my gosh. There are so many reasons why you should play golf. I think the biggest reason is you're going to have it your whole life. Like, it's going to be, whether you do it competitively or not, like, it's something that if you go into business, like, you have golf, and everybody likes to go to golf outings when they are in the business world. Like, that's what people do. That's how you make friendships and relationships with other people. Like, you can just go out with your friends and do it, and you can do it till you're 100. Like, it's the one sport that has the longevity. You can do it forever. And I played golf until I was about 12, and I quit because I didn't like it anymore. And my mom was like, okay, didn't push me or anything. She knew I had a lot of talent, but she knew if I didn't like it that why play something that you don't like? So I took the summer off, and I came back to it, and my mom signed me up for, I came back the next year, and my mom signed me up for all these tournaments with the boys. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll give it another shot. And I played in these tournaments with the boys, and I started beating them. And I thought that was the most fun thing because I was beating the boys, on the golf course. Right. And I loved that. And I love playing with boys or girls or older people or younger people. Like, you can play with anybody, and golf's really a game for everybody. So I would encourage anybody to at least give it a try. It's my favorite thing to do in the entire world. I would love it if I could play it forever, and I hope to. Everyone in my family plays, and I just think it's so fun. So, little girlies, give it a shot, and guys, you won't regret it.
I agree.
Plus, you don't get hurt playing golf. I played basketball and volleyball, and I always get hurt because I was the one who was I was just really aggressive on defense. I had all these bruises, and then I played golf, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. My body doesn't hurt anymore. This is great.
Right. Well said, and what a great message for some of those young tweens out there. Obviously, I know you've mentioned a couple times about your mom coming around with you and that, so obviously she's a great support system. And it doesn't hurt to have mom around too during a tournament to maybe get in a little power shopping once in a while. So I'm sure that is an added benefit of having mom come with you. And what young lady wouldn't like to do a little power shopping once in a while on that? So let me just say this, Jillian, as we.
Me personally.
What? No.
But I really don't like shopping that much, but we do tons of other things, like go to dinner and go to the movies, and we find so many fun things to do on the road because you go play and then you want you're not in golf mode all the time. You got to take a little break or something. So we find a lot of other things to do. Right.
Well said. Well, Jillian, I want to take this opportunity first off to thank you very much for coming on this morning in the Women of Golf Show. I appreciate it, and I would love to have you come back on again sometime when your schedule permits. But good luck this week in the Forsyth Classic. I hope that you play well. I know you'll play well. And just keep up the enthusiasm and keep up the excitement. And just enjoy yourself while out there, because it is certainly the greatest game, in my opinion, as well on earth. So enjoy it, and thank you, Jillian, for joining me this morning.
Oh, Ted, thank you so much for having me. Happy to do it.
All right. You have a great one, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you so much. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right. That was very special guest Jillian Hollis, again, playing in her first Symetra Tour event, the Forsyth Classic, this weekend in Decatur, Illinois. A former member of the University of Georgia golf team and three-time All-American, and certainly a very accomplished player, and actually won some tournaments. So she's got some good pedigree, if you will, to be able to get out there and give it her best. So I want to thank both of my guests, Maia Schechter and Jillian Hollis, once again for joining me this morning on the Women of Golf. And I will be back along with Cindy Miller next week here on the Women of Golf Show. And remember to keep tuning in. Pass the word around. Again, the best way to find us is to go to blogtalkradio.com/Women of Golf. And that is the main show link. And each and every week we have some interesting guests and interesting discussions. So I hope you'll continue to tune in, and I hope you'll spread the word. This is a great way for a lot of golfers in general, but particularly for women. We want to really grow the game, and this is an area that has certainly become the fastest growing demographic, particularly young girls from about 13 right up to young women in their early 30s, as the fastest growing demographic, if you will, in golf today. And we want to keep that momentum going. The more young ladies that we get coming into the game, we know that they'll enjoy it and have fun, as Jillian pointed out. So at least give it a try. And remember, keep joining us each and every week. We'll have some interesting guests and some interesting discussions, so hope you'll tune in. On behalf of my partner, Cindy Miller, I'm Ted Odorico, and we want to thank you for joining us this morning, or joining me this morning and my guests on the Women of Golf Show. I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless everybody, and have a great weekend.